What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, your taste level is lacking. And if that's the case, then, get well soon. I don't know what to say. Y'all, look at my roof. First of all, don't look at my roof. I want to show y'all what I can do with it, though, because don't look at the fact that I don't have a retwist. That's not what you're supposed to be looking at. You know what? And since I can still feel you looking and judging me, I ain't never had enough hair for the ponytail like this. Look at the ponytail. It's giving long hair don't care. And the crazy thing is, so y'all know what my hair looked like if you've been here for a long time. You saw this was my money piece. This blonde was my money piece back in the day. You would think I was bald-headed. How little blonde is there like that? I'm curious to know the length of my hair because all of this thing grown and this was long before it shrunk down. I'm gonna retwist my hair. Look at this. You see that? You see that white? I got lint in my locks. And so the thing is, y'all, while I was on my hiatus bed rotting, with no bonnet on, the last thing I cared about was the fact that lint would get in my hair. So here I am now with lint in my hair. So once I get enough energy to wash my hair, soak that lint out, retwist it, it'll be done. But until then, anyway, that is not what we're here to discuss. I hope you guys are well. I don't know if I said that. If you watched the last true crime video, you already know who we are here to discuss today. Jason Scott. What is going on up there in PG County? Like, it's a lot going on in the world, of course, but specifically up there in PG County, y'all got some things going on, and I mean currently, that are very worrisome. So please be safe. Be safe everywhere. But real quick before we get started, if you're playing Palia, I'm new to Palia. Any gamers out here? I'm new to Palia. I'm hooked on Palia. Back in the day, I was a Sims girly, but this is like the Sims meets Animal Crossing. In my opinion, I've never played Animal Crossing, but my opinion, way better than the Sims, okay? Way better than the Sims. If you on there, add me, come stop by my property. I'll put my name on the screen. I'll holler at your girl, okay? And now that I've gotten all of the pleasantries out of the way, let's get into the not so pleasant details of this case. It's a lot to unpack, and I got an attitude. So in 2008, Prince George County, Maryland was plagued with a wave of these home invasions that are being carried out by two masked men who are doing a very good job and not leaving behind any evidence. Nothing. Fast forward to January 26th of 2009, a call comes into dispatch because another one of these robberies has taken place, and this time things have escalated to violence. The caller says, quote, "Ma'am, I've been shot. Me and my mother have been shot. I am bleeding to death." The call is coming in from 16-year-old Carissa Lofton, and unfortunately by the time help arrives, she and her mother Karen have both succumbed to their injuries. Now, at the scene of the crime, investigators discovered 6 spent shell casings that came from a Glock 17. And the neighbors that speak with the detectives, they recall seeing a blue, unfamiliar car in the neighborhood parked just a little ways down from the Lofton women's house. Now, detectives do find out that the alarm system did go off for the house, but it was disarmed in under a minute, and because of that, it didn't trigger a response. This makes them think that the perpetrator is likely somebody that was familiar to them, somebody that they know personally. And who might that be? The first person that they set their eyes on is Karen's 20-year-old son that also lives there in the house with them, but he was not at home at the time. Instead, he had gone over to his fiance's house to spend the night, and he was actually awakened in the middle of the night by her mother with the news that 2 women had been killed on his street. So of course, hearing that and knowing he has a sister and a mother at home, he immediately gets into his car and heads that way. The 2 women were in fact his mother and his sister. And then he is asked by detectives where he's been. What is his alibi? He's also questioned at the police station later and flat out blatantly asked if he had a desire to hurt them. And I'm wondering, when people are asked this question, because I always hear that this question comes up, do people really answer that question with yeah? Yeah, I wanted to hurt him bad. Like, who wouldn't say no? Not insinuating that I think the son had anything to do with it, but I'm just wondering. It's a peculiar line of questioning, if you think about it. Now, when his alibi checks out, they clear him of suspicion, and the next person they look at is Karen's ex-husband and Carissa's father. They have to scratch his name off just as swiftly as they wrote it down, okay? Mr. Kirkland was down in Atlanta in his garden. Look at him. That's a good man, Savannah. And then next they look at this guy, Karen's ex-boyfriend, Michael Lacey. They bring him in for questioning. And at first, he's a little bit suspicious to them because he refuses. Now, he'll talk to them and answer the questions, but he refuses to take a lie detector test.
Did you all have keys to each other's house or anything like that?
Definitely not.
You couldn't just walk over and walk in? Or...
They interview him on 3 separate occasions before deciding ultimately to rule him out as a suspect as well. So within the first 48 hours, they have ruled out all of the usual suspects as far as like family and friends that are closest. Now, 6 weeks later, dispatch receives a phone call about a stolen Nissan Altima. And the house that it's stolen from is not that far from the Lofton's house. The caller is a woman. She said that she had left her house and she had not been gone from her home for more than an hour before returning home and realizing somebody had stolen her car out of her driveway or garage. I believe it was inside of her garage. And the crazy thing is, as she is on the phone telling dispatch this, she sees her car come zooming down the street right past her.
Okay, it just zoomed past me. Wow.
But by the time the police get there and patrol the scene, whomever was behind the wheel was long gone. Hours later, they find this car parked in the driveway of an unoccupied home, completely engulfed in flames, as you can see here. And when they get the fire out, they make a terribly gruesome discovery. There are 2 women in the trunk of this car. Another mother-daughter duo from PG County has been victimized. 42-year-old Dolores and her 19-year-old daughter, Ebony. Investigators are able to pinpoint who was the last person to see Ebony alive, and it was actually her boyfriend. And when they speak with the boyfriend, he says that he'd last seen her just hours before and that they had a late dinner, after which he'd taken her home, dropped her off, but he didn't go inside the house. He sat in the driveway and watched her go inside, assuming that when she made it inside, she was safe. So this makes them wonder if the person was already inside of the house. She just walked in on them already being there in the midst of the things. And when asked what she was last wearing, he tells them that she was wearing a blue sweater. Dolores and Ebony, they live very close to the first mother-daughter duo that was ambushed, Karen and Carissa, just 2 blocks away. Dolores and Ebony lived a very short distance away from Karen and Carissa, just 2 blocks away. So it was very obvious to detectives that this was likely the work of the same individual. They just have to figure out who it is and find him before he strikes again. And they're afraid that it'll be sooner than later when they realize that these 2 women had actually been deceased for 24 to 48 hours before they were even put there in the car. And more often than not, the pattern is always the same. They'll commit one crime, wait a couple weeks, see how that pan out. They don't get caught, commit another one, and the time usually just shortens between victims. Now, they do notice some similarities between the 2 women, so they're hopeful that that can help them like determine who might be at risk and see where they might be hunting for the next victim. They're both single mothers who have daughters. They're both nurses and of course live in PG County. Now, Dolores does have an ex-boyfriend and an ex-girlfriend who they speak with both of them, but both of them have very solid alibis. Going back to Dolores and Ebony's home, they don't find any signs of forced entry, but they do find this trash can flipped over on the side of the house next to this window that the perpetrator likely used to gain entry. Even still, there weren't any like markings left behind showing that they had forced their way inside, nor did they leave behind any DNA. And I mean anywhere on the scene, not on the window, the trash can, or inside the home. They couldn't even find any signs that the mother and daughter had been harmed within their home, so they're not sure if they were taken to a different place and then put in the car to be disposed of, because there's no evidence inside the house of that either. The crime scenes, the 2 houses, they kind of mirrored each other. The only difference is he had taken Ebony and Dolores from their homes and had left Karen and Carissa inside of theirs. And the first set of women had been shot, but the second had been asphyxiated. And when examining the car, they didn't really have any luck either, because the fire had virtually destroyed everything, or they seemingly didn't have anything. One of the women are wearing a pair of jeans that were not completely destroyed, and inside of the jeans between her skin and the fabric is a beech tree leaf, which strikes them as odd because these trees are not common in the area. At least they weren't back in 2009. So in the 24 to 48 hours, they obviously were taken to another location that has these trees, or at least in close proximity. It is not until after the lady's car is stolen from her garage that she realizes her spare keys are missing. A whole month prior to her car being stolen, someone had broken into her house and she had actually filed a police report. The police came, but because she really couldn't even find anything missing, she just knew somebody had been inside her home, nothing really came of it. He didn't leave behind any evidence. Nobody has a clue who it was. She just has gone on with her life since. And now everybody is realizing what happened. He just tiptoed in, grabbed those keys for a rainy day, and left. More than 80 people are brought in for questioning in regards to these 2 women 4 women, but the detectives don't really get anywhere. And before you know it, 6 months have passed without them coming up with anything. Then in July of 2009, ATF reaches out to the PG County Police Department to inform them that they had arrested 2 men that they'd retrieved stolen firearms from, 25-year-old Marcus Hunter and 25-year-old Jason Thomas Scott. These 2 scumbags. A Jason Thomas Scott that lives a mere 2 blocks from Dolores and Ebony. Now, ATF tells them that not only are the firearms stolen, they believe that these 2 men are responsible, or at least involved, in the burglaries that have been plaguing PG County since last year. So, of course, all of the things considered, detectives want to speak with Jason Thomas Scott and Mr. Marcus Hunter. And here's where things get a little weird, because the lead detective speaks with Jason and he is not sold on Jason being their guy. His reason being, Jason was a very small man in stature, very meek and mild-mannered. He did not speak above a whisper at all. And during his interview, a lot of times he would lean in to make sure they heard him. The detective said sometimes, he leaned over and whispered in his ear. To them, it didn't give murderer. Very skittish, or at least playing skittish. Now, it gave not all there, but it didn't give violent. And the ATF agents actually agreed. They thought, he might be, involved in the burglaries, because clearly he likes to steal. But he's not giving violent, and said, quote, "This guy wasn't a thug." They also felt his background didn't suggest to them that he could or would do something like this. He was a college graduate. He had a little piece of part-time job down to the UPS place. Somewhere in UPS. He had no criminal record whatsoever. His production at UPS was good, and when they speak to his colleagues, they don't really have much to say about him. It was kind of like he was a ghost. Nobody was a friend to him. He didn't really speak to anybody, really kept himself. So nobody could really vouch for his character. They just didn't have anything to say about him, good or bad. So he and his accomplice, they are just charged with the weapons charges, and with neither of them having any criminal record or history, both of them are free to go home and await their court date. They had a bail, of course, but the judge didn't think that either of them were a flight risk, nor were they a threat to anyone else. But ATF wanted to speak to them both again. They were like, not so fast. These 2 look like beta criminals. Where are the alpha criminals? They might tell to save themselves. I also want to mention that they did question both about these crimes, and both of them deny having any knowledge or involvement. They get the men alone in 2 separate rooms to try to get them to talk. Marcus is not saying a word. However, when they get Jason in his little room and offer him a proffer session, he accepts. Now, a proffer session is a meeting with federal prosecutors and other law enforcement agents where they essentially tell him, you tell us everything you know and we'll go easy on you. Or easier. It's a type of immunity deal, very similar process. It's called Queen for a Day, which I think is hilarious. The same with an immunity deal. Anything given to them in the statement cannot be used against you to later prosecute you. But what people fail to realize about these immunity deals is that one is different kinds. And also with any of them, if they could then find any evidence outside of what you told them that could get you on this crime, you best believe if they want to, they can and will go after you still. They will definitely spin the block on your ass, okay? With all the other evidence aside from your admission of guilt. When the agents come into the session, Jason is already seated there with his lawyer and has 3 sheets of paper on the table in front of him with over 40 different addresses written on it. And all of these addresses are places that he and his homies have burglarized. 9 of them, he admits that he was armed, pointed his weapons at the occupants of the home and demanded valuables from them. On September 23rd of 2008, Jason tells them that along with his co-conspirator Marcus Hunter, they broke the sliding glass door of a home in Upper Marlboro, and once inside of this residence, Jason, armed, extensively beat and dragged one of the women inside the house before they left. Jason then dragged her downstairs to an area where Marcus was holding her husband hostage, because of course he is also armed. After obtaining the couple's ATM cards, Marcus leaves the residence to go and get money at a nearby ATM machine while Jason sits there essentially holding the couple hostage. After Marcus goes and gets the money, he returns to the house. He and Jason take the couple's 2007 Cadillac Escalade and leave. In another instance that had taken place in May of 2009, the following year, he and Marcus broke into another home, same neighborhood. This home, they actually broke the basement window to get inside of it. Jason was very violent with a juvenile female that lived there, and they managed to get away with several valuable items, including another handgun and a 2004 Lexus car. Just 3 days after that, Jason and Marcus go to a federally licensed gun business over in Woodbine, Maryland. Apparently, Jason was the mastermind behind this. He said that he had researched and cased the place. And once inside, together, he and Marcus stole over 39 firearms, along with 6 silencers. June 13th of 2009, Jason and Marcus, well, Jason spots a 17-year-old girl that he decides he wants to target. They go throw a cinder block through the rear patio of the home where she lives. There was a 12-year-old girl inside the home that they hold hostage, and her family, including the 17-year-old, they weren't at home at the time, but they do return home during this whole thing. The mother, the 17-year-old sister, and the 5-year-old brother. So they get home. Jason orders them into a bathroom and the 17-year-old girl into a separate room, places a pillowcase over her head, forces her to undress, and then he takes out a camera and has her, like, forces her to do these weird, strange poses. He touches her, and he's just recording himself and taking photos like a weirdo. And just 4 days after this incident, and 2 weeks after breaking into the firearms store, on June 17th of 2009, in the parking lot of the Landover UPS facility that he worked, Jason sells 4 of the 39 firearms that they had stolen to an individual that he didn't know at the time was cooperating with federal agents, which of course then led to his arrest. And so now that Mama's his queen for a day, he's been given this deal. He's admitting to all of the things, also naming his co-conspirator, who is not protected by his queen for a day deal. So this leaves Marcus Hunter out to dry and on the hook for all of these crimes, which are way worse than what they thought they were going to hear. And Jason is sitting there thinking that he is smart because he's admitted to all of these things and they cannot use any of that against him. When they pull out a map and pinpoint all these 40 locations, they see that these are all the 40 plus burglaries that have recently plagued PG County so flawlessly. Now, the DeWitt home and the Lofton homes, they're not on the list. And also missing from the list is the home where the Nissan Altima was stolen from. He thought he was a little smart, because obviously the person who would have taken that car would be responsible or would have to answer to the contents of the trunk. They are granted search warrants for Jason's car and his home, and child, they find a bunch of incriminating stuff. 16 stolen firearms, a North Face backpack with a whole robber's kit. He had gloves, Nike gloves inside, ski masks, police radio frequency scanners, holsters, ammo, digital cameras. Then he had extra SD cards, like to use for storage. And on the storage and these cameras, this is video footage taken outside of countless women's homes. The man was a peeping Tom. Just all around weirdo. Now, with the statements that he had given while he was the queen for a day, he had dropped other names of other accomplices that had gone on these runs with him. So investigators are rounding up more people to bring in for questioning. And this guy tells them that although Jason appears to be like this very fragile, meek, mild-mannered man of small stature, make no mistake, he is a very dangerous individual, especially if you upset him. But he wasn't the type that would address you or like confront you in the moment. He describes Jason as very vindictive, said you could upset him, he wouldn't even give you a response, but say 3 weeks later you will walk outside and your car is up in flames, or your whole house. Like, that's what kind of time Jason was on. So the guy was unhinged and crazy.
Gotta watch how you talk to him. That's how you do anymore. He's crazy.
And detectives start to wonder, so is Marcus not speaking because he's afraid that Jason would retaliate? Because this guy right here is even afraid of Jason. Now, although they can't use Jason's own words against him, given in the statement, they can use the words of other people, especially his accomplices. They asked the man if he knows Jason to break into people's houses and only steal car keys and nothing else. And the guy says yes, because Jason liked to just have cars on hand just in case he needed one, or like access to one. And he says there have actually been quite a few jobs that they had gone on where that's what Jason did. Just took the keys, nothing else, and just had them just in case he needed a car. Did he always go back and get the car? No. But of course, in this instance, with the Nissan Altima, that was the case. They also find out from this person that they're now interviewing, Jason has his own car, a blue car. And if you remember, that was one of the only things that stood out to the neighbors when they were questioned about Karen and Carissa. This unfamiliar, seemingly out of place blue car parked not far from their home that day. And then Pandora's box just basically opens up. Things just keep coming to light. Looking through the things that they've taken from Jason's house and car, another video of him. It was in the midst of yet another home invasion involving a woman and a teen daughter whose address was also on the list of 40. Now, in the video, Jason had walked one of the ladies into a bedroom, propped up the camera to record himself assaulting her. He hits record before he goes to prop up the camera. And while he's propping it up, the camera light falls and catches a glimpse of his face. This glimpse, looking like Pooh Shiesty. Now, these women he left alive, fortunately, and they had called the police after he left, filed a police report, whole thing. Nothing ever came of it because there was no evidence left behind. They couldn't figure out who the guy was. In revisiting the report that was taken from the ladies regarding the incident, the detectives see in the statement that the mother is quoted saying, he said he didn't want to hurt us, but he said he was supposed to kill us. And she said that he oddly blurted this out on his way out the door. Now, in his Queen for a Day statement, he had also admitted or told about this location called the Spooky House, and this is the house, living up to the name. It is an unoccupied mansion that the guys would all meet at after they go on these jobs to divide up everything that they had stolen. They also used it sometimes to stash things there, and I guess Jason had forgotten about all of the things that might be there. The property is very secluded. It's a nice little drive off the road, surrounded by woods and trees. Investigators go out there. They immediately understand why he called it the Spooky House, because they said that it felt very eerie, very spooky. And one of the very first things that they noticed are beech trees. There are beech tree leaves all around the ground, beech trees everywhere. The same ones found inside of Ebony's jeans. And this, of course, answers the question of where the women had been taken. Where were they being held for that 24 to 48 hour period? So at this point, a forensics team is brought in to scour the place, turn it upside down, and they really don't even have to look that hard to find very important things. They find this piece of a blue sweater matching the description of the one Ebony's boyfriend said that he'd seen her in last. They then find 2 more pieces of jeans materials matching the jeans she was wearing amongst the beech tree leaves. And at this point, they go back to Marcus one last time and tell him essentially, hey, this whole thing has gotten much bigger than what we thought it was. Your ass is on the line. Something nasty. Jason is talking to a degree. He's protected from the things that he is talking about, and you are not. So if you don't start talking too, child, you are very likely going down with him for murder. So finally, Marcus Hunter is ready to speak, child. He starts singing like a canary. And according to him, 1 month before they had broken into the home of the second mother-daughter duo, Ebony and Dolores, he said that he and Jason were running through the woods after a previous job when they had stumbled upon their house, the house of these 2 women. And Jason saw Ebony through the window changing clothes. So he stops to watch. Never mind the fact that we on the run because we just robbed a house. He stops, watches her through the window, and is enamored. And according to Marcus, he was so wrapped up in it that Marcus had to damn near drag him away from the house, telling him we have to go, we have to get out of here. It was like he was willing to risk getting caught just for a peek. So he had never forgotten about her. And Marcus says that on the night that Dolores and Ebony were ambushed, they were about an hour before, they were coming from a different job. They had gone, robbed somebody, split up the assets. Marcus said that he had then taken Jason to his car, which was parked right down the street from the women's house. He says after he dropped Jason off, the 2 of them had gone their separate ways. The job they set out to do was done. In his interview with the police, Marcus Hunter also confirms that he did see a Glock 17 in Jason's possession. He knows without a doubt that he had one during the time of the crime, the first crime. So then detectives pull a list of everybody who has purchased a Glock 17 within the last 2 years. And they go practically door to door asking everyone who had if they can account for the weapon. Well, it's one person who cannot. And this owner said that they had been burglarized and had reported it stolen just 13 days before Karen and Carissa Lofton had been ambushed. Which I feel like, why wouldn't that have come up? Like, I just feel like the police should have come across that information, I would think, before. It's weird because I would think that that would have come up on their radar before they had to go knocking on the man's door. I digress, child. This is what I do for a living. I don't. Now, in the state of Maryland, at least at the time in 2009, it was or is a requirement that any handgun purchased has to be test shot before they're sold so that they have a shell casing specific to each weapon, making them easily traceable in the event that something like this happens. It's later used in a crime. That's another thing I would have thought they would have wrapped up very quickly, because you had the 6 from the crime scene. Why wasn't they run and tested and compared to the system database? I don't know. That's kind of odd. However, I don't make the news, I just report it. So I'm just telling y'all what happened in the order. Sure enough, they compare what's on file for his weapon to one of the 6 found at the crime scene, and it is a perfect match, confirming that this was the weapon used. And although neither women's houses were listed on the 40, Marcus remembers the exact house that they were peeking through. So detectives asked him to take him out. Like, can you go point us out to the house if we took you? And he said, yeah, I can take you there. And he, of course, directs them straight to Karen and Carissa's home. September 2nd of 2009, Jason Thomas Scott is arrested at his home. Now, in exchange for his cooperation, Marcus is given a reduced sentence of 7 years, which, with no priors, he's very likely to be released early. I'm sure he's out. He was only hit with weapons charges and nothing else. And I hate this part of the story. Although Jason Scott didn't get off scot-free, he was offered yet another deal. He enters an Alford plea, which basically acknowledges that prosecutors have more than enough evidence to paint a guilty picture. He recognizes that, and instead of going to trial, they don't have to necessarily admit guilt, but it's a weird little plea. They can just be like, you know what? I see what it's looking like, and y'all might win, so let's just settle on some terms where I don't have to go to trial. In his settlement, his deal, he would not be charged with the murders of Karen nor Carissa. Ain't that some bullshit? Only the 2 women after, Dolores and Ebony DeWitt. And for them, paired with the other things that he was charged with, like the firearms, the theft, all of the things, he is sentenced to 100 years. Even with that clean record, no priors, he likely still will never see the light of day, which is good. But in my opinion, it ain't quite good enough. I told y'all I got attitude today, so I ain't trying to let nobody slide and give no grace. Of course, the decision to proceed with charges for one family and not the other leaves the Lofton family very upset, and rightfully so. So let me play this clip of what Mr. Lofton had to say, Karen's ex-husband, father of her children.
We wanted a trial in this case because we wanted to see him on the stands admit what he did and be charged and convicted and sentenced for murder.
And this is what the lead detective had to say.
What do you say to someone like Kirkland Lofton who wants to have their day in court against this guy?
I fully understand Kirkland Lofton's position and the Lofton family. I feel for them. I want them to have their day in court. I went ahead and typed up a statement of charges to charge Jason Scott. I just couldn't get the blessing from the state's attorney's office to go forward with it. Jason Scott is the killer. He's who took Carissa away from him.
And I know some people will say, well, you know, he's in jail, won't see the light of day, like he did get justice. The significance of him not being convicted of the Lofton crimes is that the women's murder is essentially left unacknowledged in the court records, which I understand can feel like their lives and deaths were minimized and overlooked. I 100% get that. It would make them feel like their family's case was secondary and left unresolved, because in the court system, it is still left open and unresolved. I also don't like that it benefits Jason, because even with having that hefty sentence, he's still eligible for parole, which, being convicted of both, could have made the difference in him never being eligible for parole. Having 2 convictions instead of 4 could also make it easier for him to parole. It's not like at his parole board hearing they'll bring up the Loftons, like these are not crimes that he's been convicted of, so they can't be and the court held against him. They ain't gonna sit up there on the parole board and be like, oh yeah, and let's not forget. Like, no, it unfortunately does not work like that. Now, I do wonder, though, if the Lofton family could show up to his parole hearing and give victim impact statements, but if their loved ones aren't technically listed as victims of his, then I don't see why that would be the case. So in that sense, Karen and Carissa Lofton are essentially forgotten about. One family gets their recognition and their closure, and the other family doesn't, and they're just supposed to be okay with that. And I get why they are not, because that sucks. Child, I hope he having a worse day today. Child, a worse day. I'm about to start writing these motherfuckers letters. Mean, nasty letters. Oof. But child, they might mess around and just be excited about getting a little piece of mail anyway, regardless of what it say. So I don't know. That might backfire. Anywho, mama is missing paint on some of her nails, so I gotta go get that. Look at that. I gotta go get this taken care of. That is it for this video. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Everybody be safe everywhere. Lock your doors, child, and the windows too. Be hyper aware. It's a crazy time. Share the video. Like the video before you leave. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. Y'all have a good day. Also, look, don't forget, if you play Pally, hit me up, girl. Let's chat. Let's share things. Come over my house, girl, and I'm gonna come over yours. And I do like to steal. Well, I don't think they let you steal in Pally, because I be going into the town or going to people's houses, trying to pick up stuff. Can't never pick up a thing. I never tried to pick up a book, though, and I heard that's what the recipes are, so I'm gonna have to circle back into the town, girl, when everybody go to sleep and go back through their house. I sound like Jason. Oh my goodness. And when I was out, you know what? I'm not even gonna tell that part. I'm gonna look crazy. Yeah. Bye. Oh, my head. I need water. Blue, please go get your mama some water. Get some water, son. Fetch the water for your mama. Oh, I love my hair. Like, I don't know who did this, who is contemplating locking their hair. Girl, do it. God, do it. Whoever, do it. I have not regretted it a single solitary day, and I love it. Just make sure you're sure about what size you want. Fast forward to now at the scene of the crime, he is also questioned down to the news. Okay, not the news station, girl. So several Dolores and Ebony lived very closely to not current. Child, I'm from Memphis, but I ain't that Memphis, okay? Child, my hair is just so long and in the way. You see it? I just had to pull it up. It was just all in the way. Just so long and all in the way. The pressure cooker going off is gonna excite Blue. And I don't mean he barking, I mean he literally excited, like wanting some out of it. Get information. ATF reaches out to the PG County Police Department to inform that the 25-year-old Marcus, what the fuck was Marcus's last name? My phone ain't in here. Marcus, I gotta Google. Hunter. All that for that basic name. Jason Thomas Scott and Mr. Michael. His name ain't Michael. Baby, cause I'm a thug. They approach Marcus for okay. Marcus is not saying a word, but when they offer Marcus, not Marcus, because Marcus ain't say a word, girl. He then dragged her downstairs where Jason, no, he is Jason Cheese. After a time, now court documents said that Jason had researched, June 2/3. What is that? June 2/13th. Because this guy right here is even scared of Marcus. Jason. I'm confusing the names, my goodness. That Marcus does have his own car. Jason has his own car. Here I go again. Now the property is it's like Jason was rich. The DeWitt women's house. So that they have a shell casing